of people sharing your story, right? You just have this fear that, if I share my story to somebody, this person will tell somebody else, that will tell somebody else, and now the story spreads around. That's one. So this is somebody who has been in an abusive relationship and married to a narcissist, right? Now the fear of this getting back to the narcissist, to her abuser, who will be like, oh wow, I heard you shared this to this person. Now it becomes a problem, and that will put her in a more vulnerable state, in a more state that is panicky, and probably make her ashamed. And this is one of the reasons why people don't want to speak up. Do you want to touch a little bit on that?
Yes, I want to say quickly that I started believing recently that most times we have an exaggerated opinion of how much people retain information about us. We have an exaggerated opinion about it. People just discuss, and social media has helped to elaborate it. People just discuss events on the minute. People don't really care as much as we think they do. And most times you think let me just pick on this. Sometimes when we don't open up is we think what has happened is so bad, so grave. If people hear it, you'll just be surprised that, these things happen every day in different shapes and forms. Wow. It's not as grave as you think that this will be, in fact, to be breaking news. It will break for today before the end of the day is done. If it lingers, it may last for 1 week. I heard the story and I believe it. That it's just an illustration. Like if you have someone, if you like, run nude across the streets now, by tomorrow, you find out that most people have forgotten it. It may just be talked about for the day. So we exaggerate how much important our stories are and think, oh, they'll keep talking about it. And it just blows up on our head. So let them talk, give them a topic occasionally to keep them busy. Let them talk about it. But hey, don't think that it lasts too long, because the issues people have in this life is plenty. They don't really spend as much time on us as we think. So if they decide to take my topic for a little time to add to their gist, it's okay, well and good. But you go back to the question, why it's important to speak up, right? And how does it help? Does it really help?
And what are the dangers of silence?
Yeah, it's very, 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 very important to speak up. One of the most important reasons is because the danger of not speaking up, the danger is that you're killing yourself. Wow. You're killing yourself. One of the things I talk about I always talk with my clients, and any other time I have the opportunity to speak in a group, I say, you have one single life, one, and I add single to it to know how one it is. There is no spare, there is none that you kept, in the bank, waiting that when this one I exhaust it, I'll go and collect another one. You just have one, and you have to own it. Nobody is the headmaster of life. So far as a human being, we are all work in progress. We are all trying our hands at this life on earth. There is no owner, there is no headmaster, there is no dictator. The only head is God. But if you're a human being, highest you're in this place for 100 years, and we should all have an even playing ground to try our best. You cannot afford to let another human being who is a sojourner like you on earth to squeeze 10 years, 20 years, and probably even squeeze the whole life out of this your one single life. You have to take responsibility for it. You have to own it. You have to own it. It's your life. God has given it to you. You have to own it. So keeping sure, one of the dangers is you're endangering the one single life that God has given to you, and you're dealing with it with kid gloves as though you kept a spare in the bank. If you know that there's no spare, you will handle things differently. Secondly, the danger of not speaking up is that you are endangering a lineage and a generation looking up to you. There's a destiny attached to you. You're not just here to walk the surface of the earth and then go back after the number of years. You know, one of the times I spoke, I had a session with a suicidal client, and one of the things that helped us turn around was when I told her, say, killing yourself, it's the easy part. You know, you would have failed yourself, but much more than failing yourself, you would have failed the destinies and generations attached to you. So when we just look at our life in isolation, you can just be selfish and say, oh, it doesn't matter what happens to me. But when you look at your life holistically, the generations unborn, they may not even be from your womb or from your loins, but their destinies attached to your life. And you can't even afford to fail them. So that is another reason why you should not keep. The danger of keeping short is that you're not just killing yourself, but killing the numerous giftings.
Wow.
The giftings, the destiny, the entourage that God has packaged alongside the creation of a special being called you.
Wow.
You can't afford that. One of the things that can help you come to a point where you know it's okay to speak up. It's okay to speak up is knowing that you are not responsible for another man's actions.
Wow.
Don't take only responsibility for your own. Take responsibility for your actions, but please don't take responsibility for another man's actions. Someone slaps you, please don't take responsibility for the slap. Someone decides to be offensive and abusive, please don't take responsibility for it. Because there's this illustration that it's not over. Because there's life. Once there's life, there is hope. Even if you think it's too late, this person has already taken 10 years of my life. I always use stolen. This situation for some time, for people I meet, maybe the person was raped at 16, I'm talking to you at 32, I'll tell you, this person has already stolen 16 years of your life. The best you can do is to say, from today, you don't have control over me again. Whether it's a situation, whether it's whatever it is that has caused you sadness, that has caused you gross pain, is to decide. You may say, oh, it has already for 20 years you've been there, but today you take ownership of your life, your joy, your happiness, the product of your life. You take ownership of it and decide that even if I have the remaining 30 years, anger, bitterness, whatever it is, circumstance that applies to your case that is listening, cannot steal any further. I say no from today. You can't steal any further than you have. I'm taking ownership of my one single life.